At the beginning of the anime, we're shown a house where a woman suddenly says, "There's still another baby in her womb." Right after that, we see a young, pregnant woman who has already given birth to one child, but she's still carrying another baby. Then, an elderly woman says, "I knew from the very beginning that she was going to give birth to twins." Just then, someone says, "Wait, don't do that. The second baby needs a little more time before it's born." Another person immediately replies, "What are you talking about? That's impossible. We have no control over something like that." However, the elderly woman calmly answers, "It may be impossible, but it has to be done. One day, these children will become the ones who command the demons. They'll possess a power that no ordinary human could ever have." The scene then changes, and we're introduced to a man who's completely heartbroken. He quietly says, "The two children who will separate day from night, the harbingers of disaster, have already been born." This man is actually the twins' father. Instead of celebrating their birth, he's overwhelmed with fear because children destined to separate day from night have been born into his own family. After that, we're shown a basket with the two babies lying inside. Right now, they look absolutely adorable, but probably only for the time being. The story then jumps ahead 16 years. We meet a young man who effortlessly shoots down a bird flying through the sky. He has bright blonde hair and crimson red eyes. As he notices fighter jets flying overhead, he innocently says, "Wow, those dragons look amazing." Sounds like both of them have upset stomachs. They keep letting out loud noises. After finishing his hunt, the boy heads back to his village carrying his prey. His name is Yuro. As soon as he arrives, his best friend Dara is already waiting for him. Dara angrily asks, "Why didn't you take me with you? What if something had happened to you in the mountains? Who would have had your back?" Yuro simply smiles and replies, "Nothing like that would happen. The left and right guardians of our village are always there to protect me." Everyone in the village likes Yuro because he's always willing to help anyone in need. The two of them eventually arrive home, where Yuru's mother asks them to help with the chores. Dara immediately slips away to avoid doing any work. Watching him run off, Yuru's mother yells, "Hey, you lazy bum. You never do anything. At least try to be as hard-working as Yuro." After that, Yuro asks about his little sister, Asa. His mother tells him, "She's inside. She's carrying out her duty." The moment he hears that, Yuro goes straight to see her. "Hey Asa, how are you?" "I'm doing great. Welcome home, brother." Inside, Asa is locked inside a wooden cage. Yuro excitedly tells her everything about today's hunt. When he mentions that he managed to hunt a pheasant, Asa becomes really happy. However, Yuro says, "I was actually hoping to catch a wild boar, or maybe even a bear. We barely got any rain this year, so it's becoming harder and harder to find enough food." He continues, "There's a chance we won't have enough food to survive the winter. That's why I want to hunt even more. If we can preserve enough meat now, we'll be prepared before winter arrives." Asa then asks, "Wouldn't it be better if the adults in the village went outside to look for work?" Yuro nods. "That's definitely an option. But do you really think I haven't considered leaving? I've already done plenty of hunting, but I still want to become even better. If I can become the best hunter in this village, then I won't have to leave this place at all." Asa quietly asks, "So, you're not going to leave the village like Mom and Dad did?" Yuro immediately shakes his head. "No, as long as you're here, I'm staying here with you. I'll never leave you behind, and I'll always protect you." While the two siblings are talking, a woman suddenly walks in and says, "Come on, everyone's outside." The scene then shifts outside, where the entire village has gathered. Everyone who had traveled beyond the village has finally returned, bringing plenty of supplies with them. One of the travelers explains, "Things outside have gotten pretty bad. It almost feels like a pandemic has spread everywhere. On top of that, the economy is in terrible shape. That's why I'm especially looking for medicinal herbs this time." He then begins trading herbs and other goods with the villagers in exchange for whatever supplies they have. At that moment, an elderly woman walks up to him and says, "I've got a terrible headache." Without hesitation, he hands her a painkiller, revealing that he's secretly the village's doctor as well. Just then, Yuro walks over to him. The traveler asks, "Need anything?" Yuro shakes his head. "No, I don't need anything for myself. But if you have a nice souvenir for Asa, I'd love to take it for her." The man simply smiles and tosses a small ball toward Yuro. He already knows Yuro would never ask for anything for himself, but he'd always ask for something if it was for Asa. Yuro happily catches the ball. In return, he gives the traveler one of the beautiful feathers from the pheasant he hunted earlier. After finishing the trade, the traveler packs up his things and leaves the village once again. We then see Yuro and Dara working together. Dara says, "I want to leave this village someday and see the outside world." Yuro asks, "Is the world outside really that amazing?" But he quickly shakes his head. "I'd rather stay here forever. I'm never leaving my sister behind." Dara grins and replies, "Then just take your sister with you. The two of you could travel the world together." Yuro immediately refuses. "Protecting her is my most important responsibility. I'm not abandoning that." Dara sighs before asking, "Who even is your sister? You've never introduced me to her. Come on, at least let me meet her once." He keeps trying to butter Yuro up, hoping he'll finally introduce him to Asa, but Yuro isn't buying it. Forget it, not happening. The two continue arguing playfully until they suddenly hear a strange sound nearby. Both of them instantly become alert. Dara says, "I'm telling you, that's definitely a dragon." Yuro nods. "Yeah, I've heard that sound before too." A moment later, the source of the noise is revealed. It's actually an airplane flying across the sky, with smoke pouring out of its engines, but the two boys mistake it for a dragon. Then, without warning, two military helicopters begin circling above the village. Every villager looks up in confusion as powerful winds sweep across the area. Suddenly, a soldier opens fire and blows a villager's head clean off. Within seconds, military troops flood the entire forest. Another soldier guns down a villager without hesitation. Meanwhile, several soldiers approach the elderly woman. She stares at them in shock. Who are these people? Why are they here? A terrible realization suddenly hits her. The barrier has been broken. They're here for Yuro. Hurry, find him and hide him. The next scene reveals complete chaos. Many villagers have already been killed, while countless others are badly injured. Yuro and Dara witness the horrifying massacre with their own eyes. Panicking, Dara immediately runs off to find his mother. As they move forward, they come face to face with two soldiers. Yuro instantly fires an arrow at them. The soldiers respond by unleashing a hail of bullets. Dara is completely terrified after witnessing weapons like these for the first time. Fortunately, Yuro manages to take both soldiers down. He picks up one of their rifles and stares at it in confusion. He has no idea what this strange weapon is, but he immediately realizes it's incredibly dangerous. The two continue running through the village while avoiding the soldiers, all the while keeping an eye on the helicopters flying overhead, still believing they're dragons. Eventually, they reach the village gate. Looking at the helicopters above them, Yuro realizes they have no chance of defeating creatures like that. Dara is desperate to save his mother, while Yuro has to get back to Asa. He quickly begins pushing aside a massive stone and asks Dara to help. That's when a hidden passage is revealed beneath one of the divine guardians. The secret tunnel leads directly into the village. So this hidden route was part of the way the two divine guardians had been protecting the village all along. The scene then shifts to a young woman wearing a red hoodie. She stands calmly in front of the villagers and says, "Hello everyone." The villagers stare at her in complete confusion, wondering who she is. Without saying another word, she casually makes a gesture with her hand. In an instant, the people standing before her begin dying one after another. She massacres them in an unbelievably brutal manner, showing absolutely no mercy. Even the women aren't spared. She eventually walks over to a little girl and quietly says, "I don't kill children." However, the man standing beside the girl is slaughtered immediately in an extremely gruesome way. Just then, her phone rings. She answers it and says, "I've secured this entire area. You can move in now." Her name is Gabby. She then tries to contact the ground squad, but no one responds. The scene changes once again. We now see Dara, who has already taken out numerous soldiers. He's fighting with both a sword and a rifle, making it obvious that he's highly skilled with firearms. He then pulls out his iPhone 17 Pro Max and calls a young woman. As soon as she answers, he says, "Listen carefully. If I'm contacting you personally, it means the situation is much worse than expected. We're changing the meeting point. The scene shifts again. A young woman has just killed the elderly woman and is now standing directly in front of Asa. She makes a simple gesture with her hand. The wooden cage shatters instantly, and Asa is injured by the impact. At that exact moment, Yuro arrives. The woman looks at him and smiles. So, you're Yuro. You're the one I've come for. Everyone else here is going to die. Hearing those words leaves Yuro completely stunned. Why are you doing this? Without waiting for an answer, he charges straight at her. Meanwhile, outside the house, Dera continues advancing through the battlefield with a rifle in his hands, eliminating every enemy in his path. He mutters to himself, if they keep controlling the escape route like this, we're going to have a serious problem. However, the moment Dera gets close to Gabby, he senses the presence of an incredibly dangerous monster nearby. It's now obvious that Gabby has been using this monster to slaughter everyone, yet Dera is the only one who can actually see it. Gabby looks at him with surprise. Oh, so you're a seer. A seer is someone capable of seeing monsters invisible to ordinary people. The monster immediately lunges at Dera. He effortlessly dodges every attack before pulling out several grenades and throwing them all at once. A massive explosion erupts across the battlefield. At the same time, Yuro is also in serious trouble. The girl looks at Yuro and says, I never wanted to hurt you. At that moment, the ball slips out of Yuru's hand and rolls across the ground until it reaches Asa's blood. Suddenly, something incredibly strange begins to emerge from the blood. Mysterious black tendrils burst out and wrap themselves around the woman, trapping her in place. At the same time, an elderly woman turns to Dera and urgently tells him, take Yuro and get out of here. Hurry! Without wasting another second, Dera grabs Yuro and starts running as fast as he can. Yuro chases after him. Eventually, the two arrive at a secluded spot. Yuro is completely devastated. He's convinced that Asa has already been killed, and the elderly woman is still back there. Who was that woman? Why did she kill everyone? And why would she do something like this? Dera replies, I don't have time to explain everything right now. He quickly takes out a pendant and hands it to Yuro. Take this. Go stand between the two guardians and place this pendant in the center. Yuro looks completely confused. What are you talking about? What am I supposed to do? Dera keeps forcing the pendant into his hands. Just take it. Hurry. Although he still doesn't understand what's going on, Yuro does exactly what Dera tells him. When he reaches the spot, he notices it's covered with dirt and debris. Dera shouts, clean it first. Hurry. As soon as Yuro clears the ground and places the pendant in the center, Dera suddenly slams Yuru's head forward, causing a few drops of his blood to fall onto the pendant. At the very same moment, a sniper locks onto Yuro and prepares to fire. But before the shot can be taken, the pendant suddenly begins glowing. At the same time, the two giant guardians surrounding the area also start shining with a brilliant golden light. A second later, two enormous golden demons appear and grab both helicopters with overwhelming force, crushing them to pieces. Taking advantage of the chaos, Dera quickly escapes with Yuro. Meanwhile, Gabby watches everything happen from a distance. She sighs and says, great, now how am I supposed to get home? I hate walking. Her demon says something to her, and surprisingly, Gabby understands every word it says. Once the smoke clears, we see that Dera has successfully rescued Yuro. Suddenly, they hear unfamiliar voices nearby. One of them says, is this little kid really our master? Another voice, this time belonging to a woman, answers, it doesn't matter whether our master is a child or an adult. We must obey every command he gives. The moment Yuro sees the two figures standing before him, he's completely stunned. Dera explains, humans call beings like them by many different names, demons, monsters, and countless others. But the truth is, these two are your demons. He points toward them. His name is right, and hers is left. Yuro can hardly believe what he's seeing. It feels like a dream. The very guardians who had protected the village are now standing right in front of him. Right and left tell Yuro that they've been watching over him for a very long time. They also assure him that they're fully prepared to fight for him whenever he needs them. Right walks up to Yuro and says, honestly, you don't look much like our master. You seem pretty nervous. Left smiles before saying, he's still just a kid. Give him some time. He'll understand everything eventually. Dara then introduces himself. However, right and left already know exactly who he is. Right then asks, "Can you explain those strange bird-like things that were attacking our master?" Dara answers, "Those are weapons from the modern world. I don't have time to explain everything right now." He continues, "Two dangerous enemies are after us. We need your help if we're going to make it safely down this mountain." Right immediately shakes his head. "Only our master can give us orders, so stay out of it." Dara sighs. "I know that, but he still doesn't understand any of this." Just then, Gabby arrives. As soon as she sees the two demons, she says, "So, these demons belong to someone." Dara is equally shocked after seeing Gabby's demon. "How are you still alive?" He can't believe she survived the grenade explosion. Gabby calmly replies, "My demon is different. It easily survived that explosion. It's nothing like an ordinary monster. It's something much more unique." She then looks directly at Yuro. "So, you're Asa's brother. Looks like her brother is still alive after all." At that moment, the horrifying images of all the villagers who were slaughtered flash through Yuru's mind. Gabby simply says, "Come with me." Yuro stares at her and asks, "Were you the one who killed everyone in the village?" Gabby answers without any hesitation, "Yes." Hearing that, Right turns toward Yuro. "Just give us the order. We'll use every bit of our power to kill her." But Yuro refuses. "You two are the guardians of this village. I can't order you around." He pauses before continuing, "I only have two requests. First, if there are any survivors left in the village, take them somewhere safe. Second, I want to kill this woman with my own hands. Neither of you is allowed to interfere." Right immediately smiles. He clearly likes Yuru's decision. The scene then shifts back to Asa. She violently slams the elderly woman to the ground before saying, "I'm leaving for now, but one day you'll pay for what you've done." After saying those words, she walks away. The scene cuts back to Right, who charges straight toward Gabby. Gabby narrowly dodges the attack. As Right flies past her, he shouts, "Be careful of Left. She's the dangerous one. She has a terrible temper." A split second later, Left lands an incredibly powerful kick that sends Gabby flying across the battlefield. Taking advantage of the opening, Yuro fires an arrow that pierces straight through Gabby's leg. Just as he's about to fire a second arrow, Gabby's demon suddenly grabs her and flies away. Yuro watches in complete shock. Meanwhile, Right notices a young girl nearby and quietly picks her up. The girl has absolutely no idea what's happening because ordinary humans can't see demons. Then Right deliberately makes himself visible in front of her and cheerfully says, "Hey there, kid. How are you doing?" The poor girl takes one look at him and instantly faints again. Sometime later, we see that Right has rescued a large group of children and taken them to a safe place. Right thinks to himself, the people who attacked the village only targeted the adults. Just then, Asa suddenly appears and launches a powerful attack at Right. However, Right slices straight through the attack, causing a massive explosion. He looks at her and says, "How could you attack me? My master ordered me to protect the people of this village." After hearing that, Asa immediately runs away. But before she disappears, Right notices something strange. The scent coming from her feels strangely familiar. The scene then shifts back to Gabby, who's now terrified and desperately using her demon to protect herself. However, she quickly realizes that Left is far stronger than she expected. Left keeps trying to force open the demon's enormous mouth. Finally, she uses her full strength and pries it open. At that exact moment, Yuro fires an arrow. The arrow flies straight through Gabby's chest. The very next second, Asa arrives and creates a massive explosion the moment she lands. She then walks over to Gabby. Seeing her, Yuro immediately aims another arrow at her. "Who are you?" he asks. She calmly replies, "I'm your sister Asa." Yuro is completely confused. "How could you be my sister? My sister was never this tall." He refuses to believe a single word she says. Just then, Right arrives and says, "The scent coming from her body is exactly the same as yours. There's no doubt about it. You two are siblings." Hearing that leaves Yuro completely shocked. He immediately asks Asa, "Then who was the girl that had been living with us all this time?" Asa finally explains everything. 10 years ago, our parents left the village and took me with them. But the villagers didn't want you to leave as well, so they created another Asa. They knew that as long as your sister stayed here, you would never leave the village. Even after hearing the truth, Yuro is still furious. He continues aiming his arrow at Asa. At that moment, Dara steps forward and says, "If you've already reunited with your brother, then you should leave." However, Yuro refuses to lower his weapon. Dara tries to calm him down. "You probably don't realize it yet, but these people came here because of you. They're incredibly powerful. If this keeps going, even more people will suffer." After thinking for a moment, Yuro says, "I'm not going to kill Gabby. As long as all of you leave this place with her, I'll let you go." Asa accepts his decision. She and her companions leave the area. As they walk away, Gabby asks Asa, "Why didn't you capture him?" Asa quietly replies, "I just wanted to see the pain in his heart, and I'm happy to know my brother is still alive." The moment she says those words, tears begin to fill her eyes. Meanwhile, the old woman begins restoring the village's barrier once again. Seeing this, Gabby tells Asa, "We need to leave immediately, otherwise we'll be trapped inside the village."